Hey, Britt, where are we going to be at in June?
We are going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, of course.
My dear, what for?
Together in the Trades.
What's that?
A summit for couples in business.
What's that mean?
It is a conference that we are putting on with Brian and Liz Fullerton. It is for couples that are working with their spouses, and even if you don't work together, like in your business, your spouse is still involved in your business, and they still deal with your emotions that you bring home every day or your stress level. So what we
If I go to this thing, do I just got to sit and listen to you goofballs talk the whole time?
No, we bring in people smarter than us to do some of the talking. We bring in marriage counselors, and we had an author last year who wrote books. This year, I think we're
books about marriage.
Books about
not just random books.
An author that wrote books.
Yeah.
And this year, we're going to have someone come and talk about the Enneagram. So
what is an Enneagram? I don't even know what the heck that is.
It's like a personality test, and it's so eerily correct that I had to.
For those out there that know what Enneagram is,
you know.
Check it out. And so, what number are you? What number am I?
I'm a 1.
And I'm a
3.
There you go, folks. So check it out. Togetherinthetrades.com.
Togetherinthetrades.com. Tickets are on sale now.
Awesome. We'll see you there.
You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys. And today, we got a beautiful Friday wrap-up show for the week. I'm shooting this podcast actually real time on Thursday afternoon. And long story short, I had some different ideas that I wanted to run by you guys for the Friday show. I think we're going to have a short and sweet one here. And frankly, let's just jump right into it. Before we do, actually, really quick, the Whole Ball of Wax promotion is going on now through the month of March with the promo code Spring Rush. You can save 10% on that awesome bundle that we have. More on that later. All right, so here's what I wanted to talk about. I actually had just a real life story and example, and had a really good time. 2 days ago, we were at the 2022 MGIA. I think it's Michigan Green Industry Association trade show over here in Novi, Michigan at the Suburban Collection Showplace. Really good time. It was a 2-day trade show. I actually went up there on Tuesday. I know some of you guys actually went and saw some of the show on Wednesday just based on your schedule and whatnot. But was up there, had just a really, really good time. Number one, it just kind of gets me in like that spring rush mode or mental state. I don't know what you want to call it. It just starts making me think about lawnmowers and fern and seed and all the equipment, right? And I'm thinking, okay, all right, spring is coming. We got 3, 4, 6 weeks, whatever it is, and we can start getting out the door. And so we're really, really excited about that. We're starting to get the itch, just like a lot of you guys. And it's kind of funny. In Michigan, in the Midwest even, you get that first 45, 50, 55, maybe 60-degree day. And I'm telling you, it's like psychologically, everything changes. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you're like, you know what? Michigan's not that bad. Minnesota's not that bad. Illinois isn't that bad. Because usually you're coming out of a 3-4 month winter and you're like, why do I live here again? And you guys have probably heard me literally say, why do we live here again? But then something happens around, first part of April. You're like, the spring's here. It's going to be awesome. And then from there, which is even more funny, is June, July, August, you totally get amnesia and forget about how brutal the winters are here in the Midwest. Brutal is probably a strong word, but you guys know what I'm saying. It's not Tampa, Florida, or Clearwater, Florida, where it's 70s and 80s and sunny. You know what I'm saying? So very, very jealous about that. So number one, it kind of gets me mentally in the game. But number two, it's a great time to, as you guys would imagine, network, meet so many different folks from industry reps, my sales folks that I buy products from, equipment from, getting to meet different people that follow on the podcast, YouTube, all that fun stuff. It's just a really, really good time to network. I got to hang out with Henrik, the Lawn Care Kid. A lot of you guys know him. He's been on the show. Ethan Hammond, he's been on the show from, I think, Lansing area. And then Henrik is from Ann Arbor area, about 30, 40 minutes west, and the other one southwest. Awesome from Ditch to Itch, which you guys have heard him on the show a couple times. Great dude. He came down. I forget where Austin lives, but I think he's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours north of me. But as you can see, it draws a big crowd and a lot of folks from all over the area. And actually had a couple people come up from Ohio area and Indiana, which was wild, about 3-hour drive. So any which way, it was just a really, really good time overall. Seeing the equipment, hanging out with people that I've never met before, seeing, old friends, making new friends. And then afterwards, we actually went out to Buffalo Wild Wings, the local watering hole. And it was just a really good time. We literally got there about 5:30, and I think we left just after 8:15-ish. So almost for 3 hours. We're just literally talking shop. There's about 12, maybe 15 of us. And it was just a really good time. We're talking numbers, best practices, new equipment, latest and greatest. People are teaching me stuff. I'm like, yo, this is really, really cool. Ethan Hammond was showing me this new bed redefiner he's picking up, and I've seen it on Instagram, and I'm like, dude, let me know how that thing works, because man, we could totally use something like that. Just perfect crispy edges. I forget the name of the equipment, but it was awesome. So any which way, we were just talking, and other people are telling yuck stories. I'm telling yuck stories. Some of them from the archive, maybe ones that can't make it on the podcast, and so we're just having a great time. And a couple really good questions and whatnot came across the table and the conversation. And this is really what I wanted to get to, was the topic of like hard work and doing it all, and how do you do it all, and all that kind of stuff. And people are asking me questions. Other people are asking other folks questions like, how are you running your company, and what are you doing to become more efficient, and really, like, how are you getting everything done? And actually, that honest answer, that question was proposed to me. I forget who asked the question, but they're like, how are you, getting everything done, or how are you working so much in a day? And you guys have heard me talk about this before. It's going to be hopefully a lighthearted conversation here for just a quick minute, and like I said, a shorter episode for the weekend here. But the reality is that I think a lot of people are a little confused about how hard some people are working, how hard it is. What's the minimum amount of effort required to get something moving? These are just observations I've had. So let me just cut through the mustard. Let's just make it unfiltered here for a second. A lot of folks they're just busy. They're just busy. And here's what I wanted to say. Like, I'm going to probably title this podcast something like, get off YouTube, get off social media. As somebody who creates content on YouTube, you would think I would be like, hey, go watch the YouTube channel, and hey, go watch more Brian's Law Maintenance videos, and go get that ad revenue and all that stuff. And although there is probably a silver lining there of like, yeah, I would hope more people watch our channel and it would grow and all that other mess. The reality is that you've probably never heard me say that. Straight up. I'm like, hey, we got a YouTube channel, go check it out. And then you've probably heard me a lot of times, and maybe you're new to the show, welcome to the jungle, but you've probably also heard me say, get off YouTube, get off social media, go make it happen, go work, go build your company, go build your business. And so here's what I wanted to say, is that a lot of people out there right now, they're thinking they're working hard, and they're not really working as hard as they think, if that makes sense. And I'm not coming top down like I'm the hardest working dude in the room. I've never tried to project that. I've never said that. But here's my point. Here's the challenge. And here's what we were all kind of spitballing. And actually another guy, Trey, he knows who he is. He was up there, and we were just talking. And people are like, well, how do you get so much done? Or how do people who are getting a bunch of stuff done, like from Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos and all these guys? And the reality is, like, they're not on their phone. They're not on YouTube. They're not on social media. They're not. They'll take what they need. They're on it for like 2 minutes, and then they're off, and then they're off to the races. And so here's my point. Here's my challenge to you guys is a lot of folks, they think they're working hard, but Trey was actually talking to me, and he goes, and he was on this rant too for a quick minute, was look at your weekly phone, whatever it is, the weekly phone time, screen time, right? Where you get your progress report or your weekly screen time report. And this is also a self-check, by the way. I'm talking to me too. The last time you get that weekly report, I don't know, like my phone beeps on it once a week and lets me know where I'm at. Maybe it's like a Sunday night at 6:00 thing. I don't know if all the iPhones do that, or you can turn it on or turn it off. Some people probably want to turn it off after what they look at their phone and look at their screen time history. But how many times have you guys, myself included, by the way, this isn't a top-down conversation, but how many times have you get that screen report and it says you've been on your phone 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day? 10 hours a day. And I know somebody's going to be like, well, that's like when the phone's unlocked, but really I'm listening to a podcast, or really it was GPS, man. I was driving somewhere for 40 minutes. It was GPS. Okay. Probably so. You're probably right. But it still begs the question, right? When you get a progress report, that says you've been on your phone 8 or 10 hours a day, and let's say 2/3 of that is actual busyness on your phone, and I'm sure you're sending out emails, and I'm sure you're tagging up on Jobber, and I'm sure you're sending out your invoices on Yardbook, and I'm sure you're, whatever, guys, you know what I'm saying, scheduling your routes on MapQuest or whatever you guys are doing, right? And I'm sure you're watching a bunch of YouTube videos, right, from Brian's Law Maintenance to learn latest and greatest and how-tos and techniques and all that stuff, right? But self-check, that's what we do here on the podcast. It's unfiltered. Self-check. When's the last time you looked at that number and you just blow it off? 10 hours on your phone a day, or 9 hours on your phone a day, 8 hours on your phone a day. It's crazy. It's wild. And so here's my challenge is try to get that number down. Try to get that number down. Get off of your phone. Get off of social media. Get off of Instagram and get off of YouTube. I think podcasts are great. You can have them on in the background. You can have them on in the foreground. But at the same point, listen to a couple podcasts, but you should be working while you're listening to a podcast, my opinion. Unless you're really dialing it in and really trying to take notes on something. For me, podcast is like talk radio. It's just on in the background, right? And so that's my point. Number one, people, somebody asked me at the table, how do you get so much done? And I'm like, look, dude, I don't watch TV. And maybe these are some helpful tips. I'd love to hear you guys' some tips. If you guys want to reciprocate, shoot me a DM, but on Instagram. But here's the deal. When's the last time you guys turned off your TV or reduced your amount of TV or your shows, right? Or you're like, well, dude, I gotta watch Westworld. I gotta watch Game of Thrones. I gotta watch this or that. Ironically enough, a lot of people send me DMs of Instagram stories or reels of these different shows and these different funny things and things that you think I would relate to culturally, right? That's what she said, from The Office or whatever else. I have no earthly idea in the last decade, really, any of these references. I haven't watched TV in 15 years. I think I stopped watching TV in 2004 or 2005, right? And I'm not the hero. I'm not the guru. I'm just giving you guys some ideas because somebody's listening to the podcast right now and they're like, you would never think to A, turn off your TV, B, not have it on in the background, or C, even get rid of it. You've never even considered that as a thought or as an option. You're like, I see the screen progress report on my phone. I just, swipe up, get rid of it. But you don't realize it says 10 hours and 17 minutes a day. By the way, that's the average. Were you on longer some days? Were you on less some days? Well, I was on less on the weekend because I'm spending time with my kids. It's Saturday. Sure you are. But the reality is that 10 hours a day on average times 7 days, that's 70 hours. And then to go back to the person that wants to even rebuttal and say, yeah, but only half of that is probably actual busy time. Okay, so you're telling me you're comfortable with 35 to 40 hours of what would probably anybody, if you really put pen to paper, if you really distilled it down, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And ironically enough, it's coming from the guy who puts content out on social media. It's the guy who puts out content on YouTube. Well, Brian, why are you putting out content on YouTube and social media if it's all just going to waste our time? Nay. Here's the deal. My content, it's always been value driven, right? I always want you to leave with something, whether it's a nugget, some escapism, some joyfulness, or a piece of technique, or a piece of thought process that can help you guys grow. But here's the other side of the pendulum as it swings, right? Look at this. What's getting all the views on YouTube right now? It's mowing tall grass and pressure washing videos. And I have nothing against people that do those kind of videos. Where I think it's kind of a bait and switch. I'm not even going to get into that. Sometimes it's an integrity issue where you're like, oh, mowed this lawn for free, but you're getting 10 grand on the views. But it's not shots fired, or I'm not throwing shade at anybody, because I think those people are kind of honest about what they're doing, sort of. I hope there's more transparency with that. And frankly, if you're not, YouTube's going to eventually catch up with that and crush those people. But my point is, and it's not shots fired, I'm just talking frankly. Look at my channel's views of the last year. They were flat comparatively. Sub count grew, but the views are flat, and I don't care. I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with that, but I can't also compete with the algorithm promoting content that gets more views and more watched and more entertainment. And I'm not jealous or bitter or anything like that. I'm just observant to what got more views last year. And it's nothing but the mowing tall grass videos, the sensationalism videos, edging sidewalks and whatever videos. And if I looked at your search history, your watch history, I should say, on YouTube, and I'm not saying that you guys are the ones that do that, but a lot of folks are the ones that are like, man, I can't seem to get anything done, or I can't seem to make any headwind, or man, I just don't know how somebody gets it all done, or does he even work anymore because he makes a lot of content on social media, while they're the ones on social media for 30, 40 hours a week watching mowing tall grass videos. And so this was the conversation we were all having at the Buffalo Wild Wings at the table was, you have to realize that all this stuff is not necessarily productive work. It's not designed to help you grow an actual traditional business, right? So go on YouTube, watch some great content that helps you learn something that is good mind food, but then get off, right? And I've talked about this many times on other podcasts, but here's my point. Here's another point I want to really make in here. We're talking about Parkinson's Law, and I think we might have danced on this one a minute ago with Caleb Allman on the show a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago even. But I think it's Parkinson's Law. We were looking it up, and the basic premise of it is work will expand to the time that you give it, right? So any job or task will expand to fill the time that you give it. So, for example, you're trying to paint the nursery, right? This is maybe a great recent example, 6 months ago. Trying to paint the nursery. Babies, take 9 months to bake in the oven, 9-10 months, right? When did I put the nursery together? Like 2 months before, right? Because this is just life, right? You're going 100 miles an hour. But here's the deal. I had 8-9 months to get that thing done. It took me, a week, a couple days to really paint the room. But why did it take me arguably 7.5 months? Because work will expand to fit the time that you give it, to fill the time that you give it. That's Parkinson's Law. Versus, let me give you a different example, right? Do you guys ever like put something in the microwave? You're microwaving some fast food or TV dinners, whatever, right? And it's like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And you're like, all right, I'm going to clean the coffee pot, empty out all the K-cups. I'm going to fill up the water. I'm going to put the loaded dishes away out of the dishwasher. I'm going to actually load the dishwasher from the sink. I'm going to use a little cutting board thing to like sharpen up the knives. All right, put the knives away. I'm going to reorganize the top counter. I'm going to reorganize the vitamin drawer really quick. I'm going to make sure I take my vitamins really quick because I haven't been taking my vitamins for 3 days. And then the timer goes off. And you've like cleaned the kitchen, mopped the floors. You've actually, changed all the toilet paper rolls in all the house. You changed the litter box too. And it's like all this stuff gets done in 4.5 minutes. But you guys ever come to a Saturday? This is just me talking. On Saturday, I literally get like one thing done. Man, I got to go change the oil on the lawnmower. And it takes 3 hours. Like I finally get to it at 11. I'm finally done by 2 o'clock. I get home at 4 and I'm like, man, what an exhausting day. And my wife's like, what did you do? And I'm like, man, I don't know. All I did was change the oil. Somehow it took me 2.5 hours. She's like, well, how long does it take to change the oil? 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, start to finish, if you're kind of disorganized. But that's my point.
Hi, it's Mr. Producer, and these days I wish I was a producer of gas. Maybe I should clarify, gasoline. Thanks to Joeflation, prices at the pump are nuts. Everything costs more. Do you have a plan on how you're going to raise your rates this year? You don't? Well, that's okay, because the LaunchpreneurAcademy.com can help. Brian has a time-tested price adjustment letter that you can add your specific info to and then email or mail to your clients. The letter's only $49, but it's going to make you 7 to 12% more in profit this year. Scared money? Don't make no money. Now you don't have to be scared about how you're going to professionally communicate with your customers so you can remain profitable. The link for the price adjustment letters in the show description.
And so let's go full circle to work is going to expand to the time that you give it. And then other people are spending 8-10 hours a day on their phones. By the way, that's just your phone screen time, right? Just talking out loud. How long was the TV on for, right? How long were you looking at magazines, or how long were you on your desktop computer looking at, all kinds of different media or whatever? And again, I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not saying don't research stuff. I'm not saying don't learn things. It's not my point. But it is an interesting thing where you look at people who are achieving, people who are growing their companies. They're not spending 10 hours a day on their phone. They're not spending 20, 30. What's the average time people are spending in front of their TV per week? 30, 40 hours, I think is average in America. So you're telling me you're going to spend 70 hours on your phone, 40 hours on average on your TV, and that doesn't count any other tablets or devices, you're at like what, 100 hours out of your 168 and you got to sleep 40, 50 hours? Like, no wonder America is like literally so lazy right now. The production level is so low. The workforce participation rate is so low. We're losing millions of people a month out of the workforce because all this other stuff is like what people are focusing on. It's brutal. So anyway, that's where I wanted to just kind of talk about it for a quick minute, because here's the deal. Somebody at the conversation at the table was like, well, Brian, I really loved your podcast the other day about commercial bidding tips. And I said, I think like it was like tip 8, 9, or 10. It was get back with the commercial bid within 24 hours. And literally I talked about how like Liz and I I'll come home one day and I'll be like, or I'll text her, give her a heads up. Hey, I got a phone call for a commercial bid. I want to get this thing knocked out within reason. I'm like, hey, I'm doing this for the next hour. I don't care about dinner. I don't care about family. Like, you guys know what I'm saying. But this is the first priority when I get home, other than like giving my wife a kiss and, see my baby or whatever, which is great. But outside of that, it's like I'm not going to take a shower even though I'm grody and greasy. I'm not going to go clean out the car or the truck or get the trash bins in if it's on trash day. Arguably, none of that matters because I want to go make sure that I get this bid back in as soon as possible because I want to get the bid, right? And so my point was, a lot of people are like, well, other people are lucky or other people are this or other people are that. And I'm like, no, not really. It's just because somebody got the bid back or they hustled or they saw an opportunity and they pounced on it. And so you look at entrepreneurship in general, you have to like kind of arguably be in this always aggressive attack mode, being offensive, right? You can't sleep on it when you're an entrepreneur, right? And I'm preaching to the choir. A lot of you guys are already crushing this stuff, but think about it. Like, here's one thing I heard somebody say once. I don't know if it was a YouTube video or like on an audio book or a podcast, but they said, you have to. Hearing something doesn't just make you successful. You have to like literally take inventory if you're doing what somebody's talking about, right? So you're like, well, I'm aggressive, man. I already do this, I already do that, or I already know people are on their phones 50 hours a week, or I already know people are on TV watching TV 30, 40 hours a week. Well, did you take personal inventory to ask yourself, how are you doing? Did you give yourself a grade? And I'm not the bad guy. I'm not, I'm just trying to illuminate things, right? Bring it to the top of mind. So let me give you an example. I say, well, you need to go put your bids in within 24, 48 hours max. Does anybody listening in right now have a bid that's been out for longer than 3 days? It's like, is there an echo in the room? And I'm not getting in your face. I'm just talking real talk. Are you subscribing to that attitude or that philosophy? Are you attack mode? Are you hungry for it? Or are you getting fat and lazy? Right? And fat and lazy doesn't mean like you're totally like butchering this thing. It just means when you were first in your first year, 2, 3 years, man, you were on it like a dog, fleas on a dog, like a dog on a bone. I'm sure there's a bunch of other analogies about dogs, right? But that's my point. Now you're 5, 8 years into this thing, you're cranking out a couple $100,000 and you're like, hey, if we get it, man, we get it. If we don't get it, who cares? They need me anyway. And your attitude changed and your hungriness for it changed. Your hunger for it changed. You're not as hungry as you want. And then other people are getting opportunities and you go, yeah, dude, like we just don't get the same luck, man. We just don't get the same calls. I would imagine that your attitude has changed. Your priorities have changed. And again, I'm not getting in your grill. I'm just talking real talk. If you have a bid out there, and I'm not saying the gold standard is 24 hours. I'm just practically speaking, logically thinking, if a bid goes out, wouldn't you want to be the first one to get it and the first one to turn something in so you can just lock that conversation down? Hey, you don't need to send any more bids. I literally call those people back. I say, hey, are you looking for other bids too? And they go, yeah. I go, hey, do me a favor. Stop calling other people. I'm your guy. Let me price it out. I'm going to be your guy. And they're like, whoa, okay. And people are like, you can say that? Yeah, you can say that. Stop calling other people. I'm your guy. I'm going to solve all your problems. Okay, fantastic. And so here's my point. Don't sleep on it. We're talking about this at the table at Buffalo Wild Wings with a bunch of people after the MGIA trade show. And some people are just sleeping on it, man. They're like, I'll get my bids back in a couple days and I'll pass out my loan agreement letters, I don't know, end of March. End of March, somebody else is already passing out their stuff at the beginning of March. You're 3-4 weeks behind, right? And it's tough because it's always there's always going to be somebody out there that's a shark in the water trying to take your company, trying to take your business, trying to take your girl. Dude, I mean, like this, you always have to be offensive. You always have to be on the attack, right? And it's one of those things like, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? I guess that's like the quick conversation I just wanted to have, like try to keep it light, try to keep it fun, but how bad do you want it? How hungry are you for it? And so these are just some of the illuminating things that we were having a conversation on. Get off YouTube. Get off YouTube. Why are people watching mowing tall grass videos? They serve literally no purpose. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody who's making them. I'm friends with all the guys that are making them. I don't care. Like, go make them. Go get the ad revenue. Go help people. Go help somebody's home from being in foreclosure, right? Whatever. God bless. But I'm just saying, people are like, well, how do other people get so much stuff done? And they're lucky, and they get the breaks, and they this, that, and the other thing. And then you look at somebody's search history, or their screen watch time history, or how long their TV's been on for the week. Right. And you wonder why like their relationship is apathetic with their spouse. Right. Or their kids don't really like them that well. And it's like, bro, you're not putting in the work. You're not putting in the effort. And again, I'm not the guru. There's a lot of stuff I gotta, still square up in my life. Right. I'm just talking frankly, like I'm one of you guys. You know what I'm saying? But there's things that I am doing where are yielding more results because we're focused on it and we're putting in the work. And there's other things that you guys are doing too, where you're getting the breaks and you guys are putting in the work. And then other people around town are like, oh yeah, they're just lucky, or they knew somebody, or their father got him in, or whatever, right? And it's like, no, dude, that guy's actually been working, man. He's been working hard. He's been losing sleep. Look at the bags under his eyes. Look at the dark circles. Look at the fact that he's got a little pooch going on because he hasn't been able to work out because he's been focused on growing a company or companies, and he's not able to go spend time, at the gym 2 hours a day. This is a constant conversation I have with my younger brother. And you guys have heard him on the show. I think he was like episode, 100 or 150 or 200, whatever it was. And it was a really, you want to talk about a fun brotherly love bickering episode. That's all it was for an hour and a half, was us just making fun of each other. But I've told him many times, he's grown a couple of companies right now, but he's still CrossFitting 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day. And I love my brother, but I'm like, dude, he's like, yeah, I got to be off of work at 4. I go to the gym 4:30 to 6. I got to get home, he gets all of his macros in with whole food, like chicken breast and rice, and broccoli and good food, right? No protein shakes, no supplements. He's like hardcore. I'm going to get my macros with organic whole food that he's got to cook. And I'm like, bro, you're 4 hours a night into this commitment to be in shape. Now here's the deal. He's really in shape physically. Is he financially in shape? Well, there you go. That's the question, right? That's the debate. And I have not gone to the gym for 3-4 hours a night or 30 minutes a day. And I need to get a little bit more balance on that, a little bit more. But I'm more financially in shape, right? So here's the deal. Who's putting in the work, man? Who's putting in the work? Who's hungry for it? Parkinson's Law. Here's the next time I want to challenge you guys something. And here's what I'm going to leave it at. Let me ask you guys a genuine question, honest question, really relatable question. We're out there, we're mowing grass, we're slinging mulch, we're doing the deal. It's, mid-June. You got 25 lawns to cut that day, or, 12 yards of mulch you're slinging. You're doing the deal. And how many of you know, like you started that day knowing that a thunderstorm could roll through at about noon, maybe 1, 2 o'clock. And it's kind of like that awkward, like, well, I don't want to lose the day, right? I don't want to, we can at least get a half a day's work in, right? We don't want to lose the day, so let's go for it. And you're probably going to get, bit, but you're like, you know what, 4, 5, 6 hours of production is better than none, which is, in my opinion, a good attitude, right? Unless you can reschedule and do a bunch of other little stuff or an office day. But the bottom line is, if you wait for perfect sunny days in our industry, right, of a pure 8-hour sunny day, nothing's going to change in the weather. I don't know if you'd have but 12 working days a year. You guys know what I'm saying? But let me ask you this. You got an 8-yard mulch job. It's going to take you till 3, 4 o'clock. Maybe you're doing it solo. You got 25, 30 lawns you're trying to cut. It's going to take you till 4 o'clock, you and another guy. And all of a sudden at noon, you've got about 12 lawns done. I don't know if that's a good pace. I'm not saying it's a bad pace. Whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. But you got 12 lawns done by noon. And you're like, man, we've been working hard. We've been doing the deal. We're crushing it. But you've been on your phone a little bit. You've been on your headphones a little bit. You've been kind of, slacking. Somebody's in the truck. While the other guy's blowing off the lawn, and you're on IG and you're DMing your boy, what up, doe? You see this yet? You see this reel? See this TikTok? I don't care. Don't send that stuff to me. I don't care. I'm busy working. And, you're like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on. Like we've been doing a great job, right? We got 12 lawns done by noon. That's not a bad pace. And then the thunderstorms start coming in, right? And you start seeing the clouds move in. It's getting dark. It's getting really dark. and you're like, oh man, like, dude, we got 20 lawns to do today, 25 lawns to do today. We're half through the day, but only a third through the workload, right? And you guys probably know where I'm going with this. And then you get like the little ding on your phone, the little weather app, or all four of them, because we all got 5 weather apps. We're all checking our phone, triangulating the storm, right? We're all like little mini storm chasers out there. And you get the weather update that says, oh, the weather and the storm's going to roll through about 2:30. All right, you're like, okay, now I got an end cap. I got an end time. we got to get this done by 2:30 because if not, we're screwed. Right? And you're like, man, we're like 25 minutes away. Our route's all the way over here. I don't want to come back tomorrow for 4 lawns, right? Because we're going to get another 4, 8, 10 lawns done out of our 25. We got 12 done. We can get another 10. That's 22. But dude, we have 25. I'm not going to come back over here tomorrow to finish up those last 3 or 4 lawns. So what do? Right? Traditionally speaking, work expands to the time that you allow it, that you give it. But somehow you can also bend time. And I'm telling you straight up, like this, I wonder if there's another law. If not, we're going to call it the Brian Fullerton law or the Fullerton law. So here's the deal, because I don't know who Parkinson is, but he's apparently famous because I'm saying his name 300 times on the podcast. But here's the deal. You all know what I'm going to say next. How many lawns do you get done? Now it took 4 hours. We got 12 lawns done. And the rain's coming in 2 hours. And what do you end up doing? You get 15, 18 lawns done. You use half the amount of time and literally do as much or double the amount of work. It's wild. It goes back to the microwave time when you put something in for 4.5 minutes. You clean the whole house. But on Sunday, you couldn't clean one part of the house or even do one load of laundry, right? Because work expands the time that we give it. So here's my point. You're out there mowing lawns. The clouds are starting to roll through. It takes 15 minutes to do a lawn. 4 lawns in an hour, and somehow you don't do 4 lawns that hour, you do 8 lawns in an hour. It's literally like defying time, right? It's literally like you bend time. It's like time stands still, or you somehow like get this +1, this momentum, this accelerator, this, you guys are just blazing through, right? You're like a Jedi trimming. You're like on the mower deck. You have like perfect stripes. You have 0 inches of overlay. You have like perfect turns around tree beds where there's no grass that gets in the mulch beds because you don't have to blow it out, because you don't have time, because you know the thunderstorms are rolling through. It's about to hail or have a tornado, right? You guys are able to use the mower deck to blow off the whole curbside, the 80 feet of curbside, and instead of walking it like you normally do, you're not on your phone switching tracks. You're not watching YouTube. You're not changing the podcast to the next guy that you want to listen to. You let the podcast switch it to the next track because you don't have time to look at your phone. 20 seconds here, 3 minutes there, 1 minute here, 4 minutes there, 5 minutes there, 6 minutes there, 1 minute here. And it all adds up. And so here's my point. The priority is so grave, so gross, so large, where you literally get so ultra focused as something, guys, listen here, is something so trivial and so negligible as having 3 lawns left over and you don't want to go back out there tomorrow. What if you took that same level of effort, that same level of priority, that same level of gravity to just any other part of your life, right? Like you have to be more efficient and you want to really focus on being a better spouse to your husband, wife, right? Whatever. And you're like, man, I got to figure out how to get flowers every day. And you will figure it out, and you'll have flowers at the house, or make a special meal, or prioritize for once date night on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. Right? And so you look at the effort you're putting in for the gravity of the situation to get all your lawns done, to not have to come back out the next day for mowing grass, but yet you haven't found any time to prioritize time with your kids. And again, I'm not being a tough guy. I'm not being a butthead. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Take inventory, right? And so where do you get that time back? You get off Instagram. You get off YouTube. You stop watching stupid videos. Stop watching stupid stuff. I'm not saying don't watch that kind of content. Don't listen to things. Do research. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is get rid of the stuff that's wasting your time. And I would say take inventory. And I bet you there's a lot of things, even the best of us, that you're wasting time on. And so when somebody else is like, how is that person getting so much done? Because they're not wasting their time on a bunch of stupid stuff. And here's the deal. They're hungry for it. They're hungry for it. It's a priority. They're on it. They don't sleep on it. And in one way, shape, or form, if you've been in business for a couple years or anything longer than a couple months, there's points and things and times where you're already getting lazy. Because here's why, bro. You're self-employed. You have no boss. You have nobody to really answer to. There's no accountability out there. And I've said a million times, and I've heard this a million times, self-employed people are like, honestly, the most lazy people you've ever met because they've got this attitude of entitlement more than anybody you'll ever meet because they're self-employed. I started my own business so I didn't have to listen to people. I started my own business so I don't have to bark, have orders barked to me. I bark the orders now. Cool. I bet you do. By the way, how much work do you get done in a week? Are you challenging me? Yeah. Because I doubt you're doing as much as you think you are. And you're also wondering, man, self-employment's tough. No, it's tough when you put a minimum wage work ethic in and expect to have a multi-millionaire lifestyle, right? You guys have heard these things. So anyway, am I the gold standard? Not by any means. I'm just talking to you guys honestly and transparently. But here's the deal. Work expands to the time that you give it. But at the same time, we've all literally bent time. We have, whether it's the microwave analogy or a storm is rolling through and you're like, dude, I can only move 2 yards of mulch in an hour. And somehow you move 4 yards of mulch in an hour, which is like superhuman, right? So here's my point. A, don't sleep on it. B, prioritize things. And C, get after it. Get hungry for it. Get rid of all the noise. Get rid of all the distractions, all right? And you guys have heard me say a lot of this stuff. It's probably not super groundbreaking, but it was just some quick observations and some really fun conversations that we were having at dinner at Buffalo Wild Wings after the 2022 MGIA trade show. And by the way, all the folks that came, thanks for hanging with me. I enjoyed hanging with you as much as you guys enjoyed hanging with me. And I was learning from stuff. And a lot of these things I just shared with you, I was learning from other guys. Some of them were 17, some of them were 28, some were 35. And it's wild. But you know what? Iron sharpens iron, right? All right. By the way, let me give you guys just a quick little plug here. Maybe go back and re-listen to this episode 2, 3, 4 times. There's a lot of good stuff that was said in here. And I'm not just saying that about me. I'm just saying like the Holy Spirit's talking here and there's some really good stuff in this, all right? Go back through, give it another listen or two, and that's what I got. How's that for a try to keep it light, and keep it heavy, type of Friday conversation and podcast for the weekend. Amen. All right, really quick. Appreciate you guys big time. Thanks for listening in. We got some great announcements going on with price increase letters. Lawn care contracts are selling like crazy. And even more specifically than that, we've got some really good things going on with the whole ball of wax promotion, which we're going to kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, to wrap up with. But guys, I appreciate you listening in. Have a great weekend. Have a great next week as well. And we look forward to catching up with you guys here on the next one.
You're probably listening to this podcast because you want some momentum heading into the spring rush. If you've made the decision to go all in on your lawn care business, then the whole ball of wax at LawnpreneurAcademy.com is the fastest route to starting strong and putting your company in the best position for success in 22. The whole ball of wax is everything Brian Fullerton offers at Lawntrepreneur Academy at half the price of purchasing every training course, program, and resource individually. And right now, you can save 10% with the code SPRINGRUSH. Not only do you get instant access to everything on the site, along with a one-on-one coaching call with Brian, you get lifetime updates to all the courses. And when new programs come online, those are yours for free. Pause the podcast. Go to LawnpreneurAcademy.com, click on the store tab, and use the code SPRINGRUSH at checkout to save 10% on the legendary whole ball of wax.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.